सो हे गाइस, वेलकम बैक टू अनदर वीडियो। आज का टॉपिक है इमर्जेंट। तो इमर्जेंट ने अभी फंडिंग उठाई है काफी अच्छी वाली। सो लेट्स लर्न अबाउट व्हाट इज इमर्जेंट, हाउ इट वर्क्स, क्या डिफरेंशिएटर है उसमें। सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद इट। इंडियन एआई कोडिंग स्टार्टअप जस्ट बिकम अ यूनिकॉर्न इन ऑलमोस्ट अ ईयर। एवरीवन's कवरिंग द फंडिंग नंबर. Almost nobody is covering why it actually works, and the answer isn't the LLM, it's the infrastructure underneath it. Emergent, the system behind the unicorn. What is the system behind the unicorn? Let's first try to understand emergent. Okay, so let's go one by one. So first is the numbers. Let's first learn about the numbers, right? So let's first learn about segment 1, which is the numbers. Let's learn how it raised the funding. So the first thing, it raised total around 230 million. Its ARR is around 120 million. Annual recurring revenue is around 120 million per year. So existing backers, which were Khosla Ventures, SoftBank, Vision Fund 2, Lightspeed and Y Combinator, all returned again in Series C funding. After that, post-money valuation become 1.5 billion. So its post-money valuation was 1.5 billion. A 5x jump just in 6 months, which like before 6 months it raised around 300 million. And after 6 months the valuation was 5x. Okay, so total raised was 230 million, as I said. Now beat 2, which is the founders. Let's learn about the founders. Twin brothers Mukund and Madhav Jha. So the founders are Mukund. Mukund was the former CTO, co-founder of Dunzo. You might have heard, it's a very famous application actually. India's quick commerce startup that shut down in 2025. It got shut down in 2025. So he's watched a hot startup die and came back swinging, right? Now Madhav, who is Madhav Jha? Madhav has a PhD in theoretical computer science from Penn State, helped start the Amazon SageMaker research team. So in Amazon, he led with a SageMaker research team. He founded roughly mid 2025. This Emergent was founded in roughly mid 2025. Its headquarter was nominally in San Francisco. HQ was in San Francisco, but the actual engineering that happened was in Bengaluru. Whole team was from India actually. Now, the growth curve. What was the growth curve? First is 23 million Series A funding, right? Which was around September 2025. Then it had 70 million. As you can see, this is the 23 million thing. Here is 70 million funding. They're drawing over this. Not sure, but yeah, let me just change the marker. So here is the Series A funding. Here is the Series B funding, which was around 70 million. Then it went to 300 million valuation in January 2026. Then 130 million Series C funding at 1.5 billion valuation at July 2026. So this like Series A funding was around 25. This was around Series B funding was around 26 Jan 2026. Series C funding was also around July 2026 with 1.5 billion valuation. That is a huge number of valuation actually, and that too in 6 months. So that's huge. This 70 million was raised at 300 million valuation, and 130 million Series C funding was raised at around 1.3 billion valuation, which is 5x in 6 months. That's a good number. That's the growth curve. And right now it has 120 million ARR, annual recurring revenue, and up to 70% in 4 months. Like in 4 months it went to 70%. If you see, it has 12 plus million apps built on the platform since launch. Emergent has quite huge number of apps that are built on their platform. It's kind of, I will explain how it works, but right now the numbers are also important. We need to see how Emergent grow. So that thing we are seeing right now. Now what Emergent actually builds, let's study that. Okay, so what Emergent actually does, let's learn about that. So what Emergent actually does, if you are aware of it, well and good, but if you are not, let me explain you. So our thesis has always been to build a production grade application for serious builders. So you are basically getting an engineering team in a box, is what said by Emergent CEO, who is Mukund Jha. Now let me explain you the product, what happens here. So what happens is, user types in plain English. Let's say he types something like a CRM for dog walkers with Stripe payments. User types in plain English. Let's suppose he types a CRM for dog walkers with Stripe payments, right? Now Emergent doesn't autocomplete code. It runs entire SDLC, software development life cycle, which is so what it does is, it's not cursor, right? It doesn't autocomplete the code. Doesn't happen here. It runs entire SDLC, software development life cycle, which is what? Planning, backend, front end, testing, deployment, and hosting. So it runs entire SDLC, which is planning, having backend, front end, testing, deployment, and then hosting it to have, so people can have access to the project. Now real customers are who? It is trucking companies, trucking shipments, factories, construction, ERPFs, property managers. Those kind of are their real customers. 70% of users have never written code before. The people who are using Emergent, their 70% of customers have never used or don't know how to code. So their user base is basically the noobs, the newbies who don't know how to code basically, but they are good in on their own business. They don't need to critical words. They don't need to they don't want to get introduced to the critical words in the SDLC. So Emergent is the platform for those. Output is real, exportable code, standard React frontend, fast API backend, not a log proprietary format, right? So they basically the output is in React frontend and fast API backend. So these two things are built. These two things are basically what Emergent works on, and whatever projects that are made in Emergent basically use these tools. Now let's learn about the system design, why this is the real story. Now let's learn about the system design of it. So yeah, as you saw, so every AI coding tool uses roughly the same handful of frontier models: Claude, GPT, Gemini. Everyone's drawing from the same well. So if the model isn't the differentiator, what is? The answer is boring, unglamorous, and it's the whole story, the execution environment, right? Now let me explain you multi-agent orchestration. It's not a single model. Multi-agent build pipeline. So let me explain instead of going through diagram. Let's understand what it is. Multi-agent orchestration. It's not a single model. So what happens? Emergent doesn't fire one single prompt at one model and hope it runs a multi-agent pipeline where specialized agent hand off work. Well, it has number of agents which has their own task. If you see my earlier video, you know how multi-agent work, right? Now let me explain you how Emergent uses multi-agent technique to assign task. So what happens? One agent, let's suppose it's agent 1. What it does, it plans architecture. What agent 2 does? Agent 2 writes backend logic. What agent 3 does? Agent 3 writes front end. What agent 4 does? Agent 4 runs and interprets test. So basically testing is the part of agent 4. What agent 5 does? It handles debugging. This matters because a single monolithic call has no error correction step. Multi-agent pipelines let one agent's output get checked, tested by another before the user ever sees. So agents are talking to each other and the task gets completed. It's not like a human is interrupting between it to have its own thing, right? The infrastructure decision that actually explains the product quality. Let's learn about infra. So this is the most underrated fact in the entire story, and it comes straight from Emergent's own engineering blog. They published a detailed post explaining a core bed. They run every single user session on a dedicated Kubernetes pod. So that's interesting thing actually. So what they do, whatever session that user is on, so every single user session is on dedicated K8 pod, right? It's not a single weight lightweight sandbox, right? It is a dedicated pod. Why this matters? Let me explain you why it matters. So here if you see the full virtual machine, which is EC2, is slow. It takes around 30 to 120 seconds, and real root is Linux, right? And database is native, accurate but too slow to feel instant, right? Now what lightweight sandbox, which is web containers, edge functions, right? It takes around less than 1 second, and does it real root is not Linux. It is managed by Kubernetes. It's managed only. It's fast but can't run Postgres, can't use apt-get install, forces the agent into fake mock workarounds. Okay, now Emergent's K8 pods, right? it takes less than 8 second. Warm pool, right? It is between this and this. Okay, it's a warm pool. Yes, full root, it takes real root, and Linux, it's full root. Database is native to it. Okay, I have not written it, but yeah, it's native. And here it's fast and capable. Fast and capable. Okay, so most AI app builders run in a constrained sandbox. If you know about Replit, those kind of things have its own sandbox. When the agent needs a real database, a background service, or a service secure cookie based auth flow, the sandbox can't do it. The agent doesn't fail loudly, it quietly writes a fake workaround, mock data instead of a real database query, browser storage instead of real session. The app looks done. It is not production ready. Emergent's bet was give the agent a real full Linux environment with root access, so it never has an excuse to fake it. So that's how Emergent works. Now, how a single session actually works. So let me just explain. This is the user prompt. There is a plan. There is a planning agent. There is a backend fast API agent, right? There is a front end React agent. There is a testing agent. There is a debugging agent. Then comes the live app and it gets shipped. That's the basic diagram. Why Kubernetes, right? Why Kubernetes? Because as we saw, it takes less than 8 seconds. It takes less than 8 seconds, and it's between these two things, right? Sandbox and full VM. These things which are not provided by sandbox, those are provided by Kubernetes, which is native database, bin packed EPF, its own database, right? Full capability at near edge speed. Now, anatomy of one build session. Every user prompt spins up one Kubernetes pod running 3 containers in sequence. There is init container. Here I can't see that, but yeah, anyways, so, okay. Now, how single session actually works? How single session of Emergent actually works? So what happens? There is init container which restore in 2 to 6 seconds. So basically every user prompt spins up one Kubernetes pod. As we saw, each session has its own pod, dedicated pod. So each prompt spins up one pod running 3 containers in sequence, right? So one user session equal to one pod which runs 3 containers in sequence. Okay, there is 3 containers. First is init container, then there is main, then there is sidecar container. What they do, what are their functions? Let me explain you. Init container is, it restores in 2 to 6 seconds, pulls the user's previous work from content address, object storage, or boots a fresh base image on first use. So init container is basically initialization. Whatever previous session that user has used, it tries to initialize with it the new container that has been launched. Main container, which is it's like a whole environment. It's a whole environment. And what it has a full Linux root access inside the container only. No Node, Python, database, code server. The agent installs packages, runs, builds, starts services, serves a live preview URL. What is a sidecar container? It contains this main, we know, right? What it does, it has a whole container, a whole environment setup, right? Everything live preview URL to Node to Python to database code server, everything it contains. Now, what is a sidecar container? It handles operations. Basically, ops are the part of sidecar containers. What it does, a separately privileged container that handles health checks, criticality, backups, the working state to object storage, the moment the pod is told to terminate, that is handled by this sidecar container. Now, as you see how it is structured, it is structured in a very proper manner. If you see, there is an initializing container, there is a main container, there is a sidecar container, and the operations are divided in a very proper format. So that's how they run a pod. Security angle. Let's see the security angle of it. Security angle, right? Now the agent literally has root. It's inside its own container. That sounds terrifying until you see the layers stacked around it, right? Now its container has its own root, right? That's terrible because root things can be hacked easily, right? So let's see how it is secured. If you see, there is a kernel level network isolation. So there is a kernel level network isolation. So what happens? So no pod can ever talk to another pod. So there is a kernel level network isolation. One pod cannot talk to another pod because there is a network level isolation. What is second? Ingress lock to the public internal only. what happens is there is no part to internal infrastructure or cloud metadata endpoints. There is no part to access it, right, from outside world. Real time anomaly detection, watching for things like crypto mining signatures. That is the third thing. And the fourth thing is C group resources caps and PID limits, so a runway process can't take down a neighboring session, right? Their own framing, no single layer is the the stack is the security model, right? Their saying is the stack is the security model. You cannot enable a security in a single layer. Let's suppose I just introduce one Python file and see that this thing is secure. It is not like that. You have to introduce layers so that it can be secured. Now let's learn about the economics. Now let's go to the segment 4 that we were waiting for. Segment 4. Okay, so this is our table. What we are doing the comparison of execution versus just having an LLM, right? In segment 4, what we are doing, comparison, right? Let me just try to comparison. Let me change the font to yellow something, right? Not yellow actually, it's to green. Okay. So what happens? Notice, can you notice this? There is none of these tools are actually competing head on. Claude Code, Cursor, Codex, Devin, Windsurf, they are all optimizing the developers workflow. What they do, who it's for professional developers. This is also for Cursor, is for also for professional developers. Codex, Devin and Windsurf, they are not solving the issue for non-technical founders, right? What Claude Code does, it accelerates the work inside an existing code base workflow. What Cursor does, it's a AI native IDE, autocomplete chat layered on your existing dev environment. Also there is a plan mode. If you have seen my previous video, you might know what it is. Now there is a agent assisted coding inside developer tooling in Codex, right? In Devin, what it does, autonomous AI engineer working inside a company's existing code base. Windsurf is AI native IDE, similar lane to Cursor. It's a competitor to Cursor, right? Now what is Emergent? It's for non-technical founders, small business owners, right? Full SDLC, full software development lifecycle, plan, build, test, deploy, host, for someone who has never opened a terminal. It's for those. The target customers are very different for Emergent. Now notice none of these tools are competing with lead on to Emergent, right? Emergent skipped that market entirely and went for 200,000 people who don't have a workflow to optimize because they have never coded. CEO Mukund Jha said it directly. His real competitor isn't any of these tools, it's Replit, the other platform chasing non-technical builders. His competitor is Replit, right? Replit also kind of comes into a similar domain, so that's the competitor. Okay, this is why just having a good LLM was never going to be a moat. Plot, GPT, Gemini are all roughly interchangeable inputs at this point. Emergent's own blog shows they have swapped in GPT 5.3, Codex 5.4, Claude Opus as they have each released. They have also swapping the agents and LLMs basically, because one LLM cannot do all work. It will keep on growing itself, but the tool that we use like Emergent and Replit, they keep on upgrading the tools on how, if the LLMs are continued or not. And if you are aware of, Opus 4.1 is discontinued, it has been degraded. So just one update, if you are using it, please remove it from your SDLC. Yeah, so let's walk with segment 5. So that was all about Emergent. I hope you like it. So the next time you see AI coding startup becomes a unicorn, don't just look at the funding number, look at what's running underneath the model, because in 2026 that's where actual competitive moat is being built. You have to be a differentiator, you have to target something else, so other market than what is already target or what is already built, what tools are already built, right? You have to be a differentiator. Only then you can raise a funding, because tools which are, as you can see, Claude Code, Cursor, Codex, Devin, Windsurf are all targeting developers basically, but Replit has a total different market. That's where it differentiated. You have to develop a tool like that. Then comment down what is your idea, what are the tools that are not available in the market and people are not focusing on it, but the customer base is there. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.